Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizical, where I do everything card making. And today we're going to try something fun. I saw this transparency film, which is inkjet printable, on someone's reel. She was printing and cutting little ghost bookmarks, which was really cute. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm just going to even make my own bookmarks like that. And then I was like, you know what? Let's take that one step further and let's make our own acetate sheets. It's kind of hard to see right now, but if you put paper behind it, you can see that I use the stripes print from last week's release, and I created my own acetate sheet by printing it in my inkjet printer. There was some trial and error because there's not really any instructions on how to do it here. You have to go into their website. But what you want to do is basically make sure that there's a single rounded corner on the paper. The rest of them are standard squares or corners. This one's rounded. This one goes into the bottom right of your printer, depending on which way your printer prints, I guess. Mine prints so that it prints coming up, so it's like print side up. Some printers do print side down, I believe. But yeah, so it does print pretty well. I did notice that there is still a little bit of ink on the surface sometimes. This one I wiped down yesterday, just with a cloth. It gets a little bit messy, but you can just, very lightly just run your finger across to get any excess ink off. I did try printing it with a different setting, so that it would be a bit darker, but there's still, I think, ink sitting on the surface of this. It might have dried. I've let it sit overnight now, but I would have to test to see if I let it sit overnight, if it will do any better. I feel like the coating that's on this will only absorb so much, so you might not get as vibrant of a print, but this one actually turned out pretty well. But like in some of the areas, you can see that I've wiped off a little bit too much ink. Like, you just have to be like very gentle and careful when you do it, because if you wipe too much, it will come off. It's kind of like a sticky layer. It's not sticky when you feel it though. Like, it just feels like two sheets of acetate, but there is like this layer that it prints on top of, so it's like a little film. So I guess if you didn't want it there, you could peel it off, but this was the sunshine print that I did. And again, you just want to like very lightly, I would go over it just to make sure that there's no excess ink. Or you can seal it with a laminate sheet. So yeah, I would recommend just using your standard print settings. You are going to get a bit of a lighter print, but again, you could test to see if, letting it sit overnight and drying, if it would help, or if it still has like ink sitting on the surface. The video they show on their website is like the person's rubbing their finger on it. There's no ink coming off. It could just be my printer as well. I have an EcoTank printer, so maybe it lays down a little bit more than your standard like cartridge printer, whereas this one is tanks full of just loose liquid ink. So it might print a little bit differently than a standard one. I know I'm like saving more on ink and stuff, and it's a great printer. I love it. But I thought it was really like a fun idea to make a shaker out of this. And I think today, I'm not going to use this one. This one's kind of a bit splotchy again. Like, I did try 2 different settings again on these. This darker one is the photo glossy paper setting. And then this is just the standard print on your copy paper kind of setting, just quick and easy. This one I feel like turned out a bit better, just because it printed with less ink, whereas this one, it printed with more ink, so I get a more vibrant print, but at the same time, again, like that ink is just sitting on the top, and then if you go to wipe it off, it's not wiping off evenly. As you can kind of see in the strip, like it starts out a bit darker, gets lighter, and then gets darker again. I don't want to rub it too hard or it will turn out like this though, so yeah, so today I am going to make a shaker card out of this. I'm also going to use some of the clouds. Like, see, I got my fingerprints on it yesterday. I was trying to film this yesterday and I was having the struggle because I don't know what to do about this paper. Like it is kind of cool and different to use, but at the same time there are going to be some like learning curve stuff around it. Again, like if I was gonna print this again, I would probably mirror it so that this would be on the back, and then I would use this as the front. Yeah, so this one, it does matter. Some prints don't matter. Like the clouds, like I don't really care if they were in the opposite direction. You can't really white paper here. So like I don't care that the cloud is in this direction instead of the other direction. But with this one, because there's words on the one strip, it does matter what direction it goes in. So if you are gonna get some of this and play around with it, I would maybe, you know, do a few sheets just to play around with, and then figure out the settings on your machine and maybe try different print settings to see which one works best and which one is the least messy. I'm just going to do a shaker card, so I'm just going to leave it as this. And we'll keep it nice and light. I'm going to add some of these clouds to it. And we're going to cut this with my nested dies just to give it a good frame. I could have cut it out on my brother's Scan and Cut, but we'll just do this. And then I'm going to use the MFT Adorable Elephant set, which is no longer available, but anything similar will work. I'm going to be doing like a baby shaker card. I don't think I'm going to put sentiment on it today, but I might eventually. So we'll just use the images and the acetate for today to make a fun shaker. You'll be able to see it because I'm going to leave the background in white, and then for the shaker bits I'll do in maybe clear colors. I don't want to put too much color behind this because I want this to stand out as the background. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't tried this yet, so I will switch over to voiceover and we can get making the card. Hey guys, voiceover Liz here. So I did end up cutting that frame out of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel, and I think it's about like a 1/4 inch frame around ish, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But I ended up using the die to cut it out because I thought it would be easier. And then I tried to use the next size up to cut out the acetate. The acetate does not cut well. So I would probably like not recommend trying to die cut. You can try anything you want. Your machine might be different. Mine's a little bit older and not as good as it used to be. But yeah, you can give it a go, but it is a pretty thick acetate sheet, so it might not go well. But I was just cutting a rectangle anyway, so I ended up just using my guillotine trimmer and using those guides as, you know, my lines to cut on, which you could also do if you want to do it that way. If you have a very specific way you want to set it in your card, and then you can use a nesting die to kind of like map out where you want to cut it, and then use your trimmer or X-Acto blade or whatever to cut the panel out itself. And it would be a little bit more helpful for placement, I guess. But yeah, so I ended up cutting it with my guillotine trimmer and just adhering it to this frame. I really like how this card turned out, actually. The printed acetate gives it a little bit of a 3D effect with the background, and your like brain kind of like looks at it so that it's kind of seeing that the card is actually printed and not the acetate, and then if you really look at it, the acetate's printed and not the card. You know, it just like gives it a really cool effect. And I'll definitely be doing cards like this again. This was kind of like a tester for one I had envisioned as a Christmas card, where I come up with like a graphic poinsettia print and do that with some shaker bits behind it. You could also create like flat shakers with these. You could create window cards with these. You could create a card base out of this if you're doing like a clear card base. But you might have to do it a little bit smaller than a standard A2 just because your printer will leave that like 1/8 inch border still, unless you're fine with that. then you can just, you know, make a card base out of it. You could do a panel, like a clear front card panel, which would be fun. I have like quite a few ideas with this now, and I might have to order some more eventually, but the pack I had was like 30 sheets. I don't remember how much it was. I don't think it was too expensive. Maybe 15-20 bucks. So I guess it's expensive per piece kind of thing, but it is fun to play around with, and I think it really does make for an elevated card, giving again that 3D effect. And as long as you keep it simple and keep the card backing plain, like I would probably in most cases keep it white so that you can see the print, but you could also always do plain black polka dots if you wanted to, like add a little something and then just put a colored card inside. And you know, you could do like really simple things, you could do more complicated patterns, but I think it's really going to be fun to kind of play around with my own prints, and maybe even try printing some ephemera bits. We'll see. Like the sun and the clouds would be kind of cute, maybe if you did that as like a window in your card, and then you use the SVG cut file that comes with it to cut out the frame. This is giving me ideas, guys. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a little fun with printing on this inkjet acetate. I think if you have access to a colored laser printer, it would work better. You'll have to get the one meant for laser printing. This one's specifically meant for inkjet because it has that extra film on it that like absorbs the ink. But the same company has ones that do laser printers as well. I know the ink like toner for them is extremely expensive. We used to have one at my office, but because it was like, I think it was close to $1,000 to print, replace all of the toner cartridges, we just decided to go with a different printer. I actually sourced the EcoTank for the company because I had like good experience with mine and it does a really good job. We actually don't print that much color at work anymore, since we're only in the office like 1 to 2 days a week most of the time. Mostly everybody's there 1 day a week at least. I'm there a couple days a week, but I don't really print too much. But anyway, I saved them some money just for printing because it was crazy, but like having access to that color printer would have been great. We did end up like selling it off to a teacher actually. She's a very nice lady. But anyway, back to the card. So yeah, I colored up my elephant. I'll try to link a similar stamp set. I know MFT is no longer like in business the way they used to be. They're still around, but I will try to find something similar. And if I can find this set, some people still do carry some MFT products. If I can find it, I'll link it. If I can't, I'll find something alternative for you guys. But this is one of my favorite and most used stamp sets because I feel like it goes for quite a few occasions. And I especially like to use them for either baby cards or birthday cards, like belated birthday cards, because you know an elephant never forgets, but sometimes we do. But yeah, so for the card I just had the 3 clouds. I might actually add the sentiment in on a 4th cloud just because I now have 4 elements with the 3 clouds and the elephant, and I feel like I need the 5 elements on a card, or 3. Like always do odd numbers just because they're more visually pleasing than even ones, unless you want it to be symmetrical. In that case, I would probably keep it to even numbers, but like the very specific case uses for different design techniques. And then I'll probably throw that last cloud up in the top right corner with the sentiment like I mentioned. So it'll kind of be like 2 elements on one side, 3 on the other. I didn't want to cover too much of the background up though, so I don't know. I might just put the sentiment on the inside instead and leave the front blank. You don't always have to have sentiments on the outside, and quite often I don't. I don't always put something on the front, and sometimes I don't always put something on the inside. Like I feel like if your card emulates like the occasion you're giving it to, you don't necessarily need to say like happy birthday on it, because you're probably going to write that on the inside anyway. So it doesn't necessarily have to say it on the outside, especially if you're giving it to the person for their birthday. They know it's for their birthday. But anyway, that's pretty much our card for today, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know your thoughts. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe because I'd love to have you here. And make sure you follow me over on Instagram and or Facebook in case you want extra content, because I post photos there sometimes. I try to anyway. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and until next time, thanks guys. Bye.